Good day, YouTube. Hey, it's Thursday. Must be around the 22nd, 23rd February 2017. So this is part 3 of the windshield wiper, the vacuum windshield wiper booster motor rebuild. And soaked this thing overnight trying to get the motor disassembled. And it was one rusty, crusty mess, and I mean it was bad. What we've got here, this is the top. Ooh, clean that off a little bit. This is the top, and that is a bushing, and it's matted in some sort of like fiber here, and then you can see this square like a retainer that's like spot welded there, kind of holding the whole thing together. So on the other side of this, it's kind of a shape so that this bushing fits that well. I was thinking it was a bearing, and there were ball bearings here, and then there would be a race, but that's not what it is. So this is the bottom. I had the same situation. This, hello, right there, that's that bushing, and it was some kind of stuck on the armature shaft on the back side where the brushes are, and I like to not get it off. I almost gave up on it and throw the whole thing over in garbage, but I persevered, and I got the bushing off, and I don't think I've ruined it. Inside's actually okay, so I'm still thinking I can win at this motor repair business, so let's continue. So I just showed you that little square plate that's kind of retaining everything. It's spot welded on. Well, this had the same thing. That bushing was in there, right down in that hole, and then it had this square plate, and that is the remnants of it, right there. And it is, I mean, this whole thing is just junk. I mean, it's just borderline. If I don't make it, I can't feel too bad, because this thing was in such horrible shape. So normally I take this up and soak it in my vinegar tank, but literally that would take a couple of days, and I kind of thought we'd speed up the process. So time to resurrect the electrolysis tank, and that's why these things are hanging on copper wire. That's why I showed you the battery charger up front. And so I thought, well, let's just do a real quick one on an electrolysis tank. So let's set these nasty, crusty pieces of metal into this clear plastic container. I couldn't find, you know what they recommend you use is that Arm & Hammer wash soda, because it has pure sodium carbonate in it. And I drove all over, I couldn't find it. This OxyClean has some of that in it, so I'm running with it. If it doesn't work, I think it'll work. Here we go. I put way too much of it in there. I put enough in there for probably 5 gallons, and we're only going to do like half a gallon of water here. So let's add the water. There we go. Add the water. Stir it up. So I might have to actually stir this, huh? Is this enough water to cover everything? Hope so. I'll probably have to add a little to it. Let me grab a screwdriver. Stir up the soap. So for those of you that don't know what electrolysis tank is, it's basically an anode and a cathode. It's a sacrificial metal, which I'm using a electrical outlet box for, because it's got a lot of surface area, and that has a negative lead from a 12-volt battery charger connected to it. And this metal over here, yeah, that would go underwater if I'd move that wire. We don't care if it's underwater. Here we go. So yeah, this all has to be in the water down here, so let's just move it around, shove her on down. It's just soapy water. There we go. That'll work. And let's hook the battery charger to it. Thought I'd do it like, let's see. Yeah, hook the battery charger to it. So we've stirred up our soap. I think that's good enough. I think it's mixed up in there. OxiClean. And we'll let it sit here and run for a little while. Is it actually drawing any current? So the idea of putting the soap in there, or that carbonate stuff, is to give the water some conductivity. And you can put a lot more in, but it doesn't do a lot more good. In fact, a little bit is probably good enough. I just don't know what the concentrate is in OxiClean, because there's some other stuff in there too. Wow, look at that. There's already color on the top. So, and the idea is that it actually reverses the rust process and turns the oxide metal back into metal. And this should actually only take like an hour or so, maybe 2. Unlike soaking it in the vinegar or other rust solutions, which, you know, could take, in the case of vinegar, as rusty as that is, that'd be like a couple-day deal, and I'd have to check it a time or two. So I'm hoping to just save some time, and I could get putting this motor back together as early as tomorrow, because I really want to see if I've won this deal or not. So there you go. There's an electrolysis tank. Almost drawn an amp on the battery charger. It's just a vintage 6-amp battery charger, 12 volt. And so I think we're good. And boy, look at that. Do you see that color already? It's only been in there a minute. Right on. So I think we're got something going here. And my goal is to then clean up that bushing. There was some copper washers that I destroyed in the process of getting that apart. But as long as I get the end play out and I don't have that thing loose, it should push that bushing down into the bottom of that end plate on that motor. And I don't think it needs to be encapsulated. But maybe I'll put it in there and throw a huge bead of silicone around it or something so that it, you know, kind of stays in there, kind of holds it a little bit. Because I'm not going to be able to fashion that little plate and spot weld it back in like it was. So there you go. So motor's apart. We'll get the thing all cleaned up. And the next video, I'll have reassembled it. We'll put some power to it. See if it works. Okay? So, until next time, thanks for watching, commenting, subscribing. Give me a thumbs up if you wouldn't mind. And we'll catch you on the next one.